What's going on, everybody? Rob Anderson, Clean Power Wash, Salisbury, Maryland. Want to talk about buffer tanks. Got a couple tanks behind me. Got our other bleach tanks, 275 totes. We got another 500-gallon tank that's in there. So Jason Guyman made a video today talking about buffer tanks. I was talking about really how you could get away with a much smaller tank than what most people are using. And while everything that Jason said is absolutely correct, I disagree with the notion of going with a smaller buffer tank, or let me say a small buffer tank. Personally, I really enjoy having, and I think it's necessary to have a larger buffer tank than the 35, 50, 100-gallon tanks that you can get away with. One, for multiple reasons. And he's absolutely right. In order to fill this thing up to, this height, that's going to take 50 to 75 gallons versus this. This is a 100-gallon tank. This is probably 15, 20 gallons. Obviously, it's going to take a lot less time to get water to that height than it will to get this 500-gallon tank to a height that it needs to be. But for us, we're almost always running multiple units, multiple pumps at the same time. So it's not really feasible to keep a 55-gallon tank full enough to run one thing and a 100-gallon tank full enough to run the other. You're going to run out. One of them is going to be faster than the supply. I've yet to wash a house where we probably have washed a house with 13-gallon a minute flow, but it's very, very unusual. Most houses are like 5 to 7 gallons per minute. Jason's absolutely right. Having these big tanks, especially when you're, it could overweigh your trailer or improperly positioned. You want to be careful on that. But like for us, we have our little trailer right there. That one has 2 8-gallon a minute pressure washers on it. Actually, no, never mind. It's got an 8 and a 5.5. So it's got a 275 tank on there. If we show up to the house and we start washing and we got 100 gallons of water in there and it's, we got both of them going, that'll keep us going for a while. Even though that deficit may be several gallons per minute, the nice thing, and that's why you start off power washing and not surface cleaning, is that every time you let off the trigger, that bypasses water back to the tank. That sends water back there while it's still filling, so that fills up the tank more and more and more. Certainly, yeah, when you get to the end of the job, if you've got a full tank and it's not properly balanced or properly weighted, then yeah, drain some water out of it. For us with the 500-gallon tanks that we have in our big truck, same thing. We can run 2 lines. We can get probably closer to 10 gallons per minute. Sorry, let me get the motion sensor thing. There we go. It's a little laid out here. We can get that tank, if we show up to a big job with 500 gallons, that's a lot of time running both our air diaphragm and our 8-gallon a minute pump. And we can even run our 5.5 hot on that. So, obviously, eventually it will run out of water. Again, it's why you wait to the end to do your surface cleaning, because surface cleaning will use that max amount of water. Even when we're spraying with tips, sometimes you'll still have some water bypassing, so that's going back and filling it. So again, that's my justification and the reasoning why we have bigger tanks, because we're running multiple units. And also because if you were to run into a house that does have really poor flow, let's say you've got a 100-gallon tank, well, you wait till that thing's all the way full and then you start washing. Let's say it's 4 gallons a minute and you're pumping out at 8. You're going to finish that 100 gallons really, really quickly. You're going to have about 10, 15 minutes and then it's going to be empty. And also, guys, with the 100-gallon tank, you're not going to have 100 gallons of water in it. You're going to have something more like 90 or 85 in there when you've got that Hudson float valve. So you're missing that space too. Anyways, that's my reasoning why we use bigger buffer tanks. That's why I think, especially if you're going to be running multiple units, that's the way to go. You should have a buffer tank just to prepare and protect your equipment regardless. So anyways, have a great night, guys. See ya.